we want to make sure that the ISMS is able to achieve its objectives by protecting the data and provide the data to management on time and so on. Then the internal audit, this is very important. The question, when we say internal auditor, do we mean that he is a member in IT department, or should he related to IT department?
I think internal auditor should be either related to the security team or independent by himself to have no bias or any relation to any other department.
Yes, you are right. We should be independent. And to whom we are reporting, should be reporting?
Directly to the CEO.
You are right. You are right. Top management. And this is one of the mistakes which you will find some internal auditor and he is reported to the IT manager or the security manager. This is not a right structure at all, because this auditor, he can discover some problems in the security implementation. Then do you think that a security auditor, he will say that his direct manager, he is doing something wrong? Of course not. Then there will be a conflict of interest. There will be a conflict of interest. Then it's very important to have in your organization an internal audit program. To have an internal audit program. This internal audit program is to find what is the scope. What is the internal audit scope? We are doing an audit inside our organization for many reasons. Number one, we want to ensure compliance with ISO 27001, or we want to ensure compliance with GDPR, or we want to ensure compliance that all the processes in the organizations are achieving the objectives of our security policies, organization security policies and procedures, and so on. Then you have to define what is the audit scope. Also, you have to define this scope and put it on paper, documented, and it should be approved by the management. You have to select the auditors. You have to select the auditors because you have to avoid any conflict of interest. Usually conflict of interest here, we are saying auditors, they must not audit any process if they were working in this process or member of this process 1 year before the audit date. 1 year before the audit date. This it will create a conflict of interest. And this means that if there is an auditor, you have to make sure that he's independent on the process which he want to audit. This is very important to avoid conflict of interest. Also, the auditor, it's very important to be familiar with the ISO 27001 concepts and the auditing processes, because, you know, when we are speaking about ISO 2001, we have controls, we have a lot of information which auditors must be familiar with it. Now, after they initiate the audit, they will create a report with all the findings, and this report, it should provided to whom it should be provided?
Can you repeat the question?
Top management.
Top management, you are right. It must be provided to the top management. Again, internal auditor, they should be reported to top management, and they should not provide their reports to any security manager or IT manager or whatever, because here there will be conflict of interest. These findings, it can be in any processes which it's under the IT manager or security manager or any processes in the organization. It may be in sales department or whatever. Then by the end of the day, whatever any auditor reports, it should be provided to the CEO or the top management. Okay. Subclause 9.3 for the management. It's called a management review. This is very important. Again, now, please, I want to remind you that we are in clause number 9, which is the performance evaluation. We want to evaluate the ISMS. How we can evaluate it? Number 1, we said measure, monitor, analysis, evaluation, internal audit to find any non-conformities or instance, and finally, management review. We have to collect this information and provide it to the management. They can review the ISMS implementation. For example, the management, we have to check the conditions of the actions from previous management reviews. There will be a previous management review and there were some recommendations. Then we have to review these recommendations if it's achieved or not, if it's implemented or not. We have to check the feedback from the interested parties. We have to check the results from the risk assessment and the risk treatment plan. We have to check the monitoring and measurement reports. All this information, it should go through to the management, and we have a regular management meeting for the ISMS to make sure that everything is running fine for the organization, and that the ISMS is able to achieve its intent. It's very important to know that it's one of the mandatory documents for the ISO. What is it? The management review results. Management review results. This management review results, it can be in form of email, can be form of minutes of meeting, it can be form in action plan, whatever, or normal report, whatever it is. But by the end of the day, the auditor, the external auditor, when he will come to certify your company against ISO 27001, he wants to see the management review results. You want to see the management review results. The last clause for the ISO 27001, it will be clause number 10, and it will be in the act phase. It will be in the act phase, clause number 10. And in the act phase, as you can see here, we have two sub-clauses. Clause number 1, it's non-conformities and corrective actions. Gentlemen, sorry, my friends, what is the meaning of non-conformities?
Non-conformities are bodies or people who do not follow the rules and regulations established. They do not conform to it.
Okay. Any other definition?
Can we say they're not linked with the whole ISO standard?
Okay. Simply non-conformities, it's unachieved requirements. Unachieved requirements. There are some requirements and they are not achieved for any reasons, whatever it is. For example, let me give you an example. One day when we had an auditing on one of the companies, we found that when the user, he will deliver his notebook after 3 years life cycle to be replaced, that the administrators, data center administrators, they receiving the notebooks and we will not erase the data. And we will sell these notebooks to whatever anyone, he will come and buy it. This is non-conformity. Why? Because as a requirement from the ISO that you must delete all the data from the hard disk to avoid any data leakage. Then, if you deliver the notebook without deleting the data to the new owner or the buyer, then this means that there is a possibility that he can open the notebook and he can collect this data and he can share it or whatever, what he can do with it. This is non-conformity. Then you have to discover this non-conformity. You have to plan a corrective action. You have to check what is the problem. Do we have a problem in our processes? We are not mentioning clear how we can erase the data, or it is a problem that one of the staff, they are not performing their responsibilities properly, or it's doing in bad intention, or is it a good intention, whatever. Then you have to make an investigation. You have to find the root cause analysis, and you have to take the relevant actions. These relevant actions, it may be training sessions. You have to explain to them what are the consequences if they don't delete the data from the notebook, and you have to review the effectiveness of these corrective actions. It's not enough to take a corrective action. You have to take relevant actions, corrective actions. You have to monitor these actions. You have to ensure that they are effective in performing the objectives against the non-conformities. Okay, the second sub clauses for continual improvement, it's 10.2. Let me ask you a question. Why do we need continual improvement? If I am doing my job or my exercise in a professional way from scratch, why should I repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it? And I go to this cycle which is called BDCA. What is the justification of the repeating this cycle?
Repeating the cycle will just assure that I'm doing the right thing, because not every time I put a correct result will correct input will get a correct result. Sometimes maybe something error could happen or interface with the whole operation. So continuous improvement will make sure that everything will be flow and will have a correct result.
Okay, excellent. This is a good answer. Other answers?
To keep it updated if we could find anything new.
Okay, excellent. What else?
Because the work maybe will be updated, so we should update the procedure and the ISMS.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
So
Okay.
also
Go ahead.
for example, if you see Nokia company, they was do everything good, but they didn't improve. So in the end, they were nothing, because the world was improving and they stopped, but do everything good, but without improvement. So the world doesn't stop, and they improve every day. And if any company or anyone don't follow with them, will we could say nothing.
Okay, great, excellent.
One last point is because generally when it comes to security, it is a cat and mouse games. If we don't improve, the attackers and hackers will improve. What is sufficient security for now may not be sufficient tomorrow or after tomorrow.
All right. Okay, then continual improvement, there are two reasons behind continual improvement in general. Number one, there are changes. There are changes. Life is dynamic. Very simply, life is dynamic. Life is not static. Life is dynamic, and we have a lot of changes in our lives. Change number one, we have four types of changes. In organization changes. Today you have CEO, tomorrow you will have a different CEO, you will have a different team, we will have a different structure, you have a different products, you will have a different services, you have a different culture, a lot of things. Then organizations are changing. Also technology are changing. The second changes is the technology. And now I think you can feel it very well. Just imagine the situation 10 years ago. No one was thinking that all our life it will depend upon our tablets or phones. That whatever we needed, it will be on my tablet. On my tablet, I can check my email. On my tablet, I can check the internet. On my tablet, I can read Quran. On my tablet, I can read my interesting literature books. I can make my study. Even I can pass my exams and certifications on my notebook. If you come to me 10 years ago and tell me that you will attend the ISO 27001 training on your tablet in home, I tell you that you are crazy. No discussions. You are crazy. If I want to attend the ISO 27001, I have to take a flight. I have to go to Dubai. I have to spend 5 days. Then I have to come back again to Saudi Arabia. But now, life technology, it changes. Now, even in our field, now we have 3 different terms which we are very important in our life right now. They are called AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning, and DT, digital transformation. These 3 expressions, they are changing our lives. Again, just imagine, I don't know, I know most all of you are students and you are young. I think the oldest one of you, he may be 22 or maybe 21. But anyway, in 1995, for example, or in 2000, year 2000, if I want to pay electricity invoice or water invoice or to buy a ticket and reserve an hotel, all this stuff, I have to go to the facility itself myself to do this exercise. But now, according to digital transformation, you are sitting on your sofa in the home and you are open the bank. You are going to the tablet, open the Saudia or Egypt or whatever, make a reservation, cut your boarding, reserve hotels, and do all these things very easily, very simple. When we say easy, very simple, very easy, there is some concept, it will come in the mind for security people. We have a problem. What is this problem? You will find there is a triangle, and this triangle, it's like that. We call it a security triangle. Here you will find cost. Here you will find security. And here we find ease of use. Unfortunately, all these 3 items, they cannot work together. If you want to have ease of use, you want to have wizards in Windows, so and so, then you will find that the security is very poor. If you want to have high-level security, then you will find it's costly. If you want to have high-level security, you will find ease of use, it will be very bad because security, it may require 2 or 3 or 4 passwords, and the passwords may be complicated and so on. Then, when we say that you need ease of use, then this means that the security may be affected. The best point which you have to search for is this intersection point, which it will be considered the medium of everything. Then, as we mentioned in the continual improvement, when we say continual improvement, we have changes. As we said, in the organizations, we have changes in the technology, we have changes in the even standard itself. As you can see, now standard 2013, before it was 2005. But we have even a new version of the ISO itself. This is changes. And if we have changes, then immediately whatever any risk management we did, it will not be enough. We have to review it again, and we have to make sure that the risk management is valid and all the assumptions and constraints are the same and the requirements are the same. Continual improvement also we require it because we want to monitor the assessed risks. These risks which you already assessed, you want to monitor it. You remember when we said that you have a risk level, it depends upon the consequences and the likelihood. Due to the changes in the organization, in the technology, in the standard, in the market, all these changes, it can affect the likelihood or it can affect the consequence. يعني suppose that you are having a service in the market and it's working fine, but for some reasons the marketing department we enable or publish a website, then this change it can create a problem. Why? Because if there is any problem in the business, then the website it will be down and this will affect the reputation. Then the impact here it will be affected. Then the risk which you level calculated before, it will not be right. It should be reviewed again. Then you have to review the assessed risks and you have to search for new risks. Life is dynamic. You may define some risks now, but there will be new risks which you don't know about it, or it may be new emerging risks which you have to take it in your consideration. Okay. We finished the act. What about the Maghrib prayer? Is it the time in Medina now?
Yes, Dr. It's near.
طيب, let's break for 10 minutes, then you will be able to pray Maghrib and we will continue sharp after 10 minutes. Thank you.
It didn't start, Dr. It's near.
Sorry?
The prayer didn't start yet, Doctor.
How many minutes still?
Doctor, there is a time between Adhan and Iqama. So I think 10 minutes is not enough because you need to pray in the mosque.
Sorry, I cannot hear your voice. Can you repeat again?
I said there is a time between Adhan and Iqama, and
Okay.
we need to pray in the mosque. So there's 10 minutes between Adhan and Iqama, then 10 minutes for pray.
Unfortunately, I will not have this luxury because you know the time it's very limited for us. And 20 minutes, this it will be too much. You know, in our plan with Dr. Ahmed that this module 1 and 2 must be finished first day. Now we still have half module 1 not yet finished. Then 20 minutes, it will be too much.
If you complete for 5 minutes, then you give us 15 minutes. It's okay.
I suggest if we can stop at 10 minutes and add the Iqama prayer time immediately. Iqama time immediately, then you can pray and come. Instead of stopping at the Azan, we can stop at the Iqama.
Okay, that's what I need to suggest. Complete 5 minutes, then take a break.
Right, we can continue for 5 minutes, then we can take a break, no problem. This will be okay. Right, we finished now the clauses. Now we finished the first component of the clauses. Now the second component of the ISO 27001, it is the Annex A. As you remember, we mentioned the Annex A, it consists of 114 security controls, and we are distributed into 14 sections from A5 into A18, from A5 into A18. Just I will give you 1 minute. 1 minute now. I will not speak during this 1 minute. I want you to read this slide and tell me your opinion about this slide. Is it matching your expectations? Are you surprised for seeing some controls which you cannot think that it should appear here? Just tell me your opinion. We will take 1 minute, then I will ask about your opinion. tell me, what's your opinion about these controls? What's your first impression when you had the look on the security controls of the ISO 27001?
The ISO 27001 cover many things, cover like nearly all the things in the field, including cryptography, access control, access management. That when if it's applied in the organization, it's just gonna help to reduce like 99% of the crimes or any loss of data.
Okay, great. What else?
Generally, the assumption I got from writing the annex controls is that they are a set of scenarios and the best response to it. And my general assumption of it is that the ISO 27000, you have to have a lot of hindsight of what scenarios will come for you to write an annex control for them.
Okay, excellent. What else? Did you face any?
I think it's covered.
Go ahead.
I think it's covered all the information security risks and trying to prevent the attacks.
Okay. Do you surprised by seeing some security controls here?
No, doctor, to be honest.
Why?
Because this is what we think. We should see the common thread.
طيب,
That's what we are expecting.
ask you about this. What do you think about this? And what about this? Do you think that F7 and F15 are suitable for the ISO 27001?
Yes.
Yes.
The relation between supplier relationships and the ISO 27001.
Yes.
I think the time it will not be enough to brainstorming. I will stop here for the prayer. Then we will continue after 10 minutes, inshallah. Okay. Let's go back to this screen which we hold on before prayer. And I asked you what are the relation between the supplier relationship and the ISO or ISMS implementation. Also, what is the relation between the human resources security and ISO and the ISMS implementation? What do you think?
I have something in my mind, but I'm not sure about
Don't worry, go ahead.
the concept of the supplier. If I consider the supplier to be the one who's providing a service for me as a company, is that right?
Okay, you are right.
Okay, and the communication with this supplier would be through the human resources staff. And so through this communication, there might be some risks to be taken in consideration. So that's all I can think about. We should put some policies to protect us against these risks.
Okay. Okay. Any other feedback? Any other opinion? Right. I'll tell you. Human resources. What is the function of the human resources in any organization?
To organize the resources.
Which resources?
Including human worker
Not including. It's only resources the human resources. It's managing the human resources tasks, whatever, contracts, salaries, and so on, vacations, whatever it is, right? What is
That's correct.
human to be, what is the value of the human for an organization?
They are
It's the asset of the organization.
Excellent. This is a word which I want to hear. We are the asset, and we are the most important asset for the company. Okay. Another question. What is the role of ISMS in any company?
It should be followed and implemented thoroughly.
Sorry?
ISMS should be followed and implemented thoroughly and monitored daily.
Yeah, what is its function?
Protect the
To
infrastructure.
Protect
yes, to managing and protecting company information.
what? Company information and in general word, company assets, right?
Yes.
And as we agreed, the human resources are the human are the most important asset for the company, then this is the reason why you can see human resources security in the ISO 27001. Is it clear now?
Yeah, it's clear.
Also, the supplier relationship. What is the relation between the supplier relationship and the what we call it, the ISO 27001 or ISMS? Suppliers, as you will see, that they can be classified because they will use your network or your services or your applications. They have to share some information with you, and you have to share some information with them as well. These are the reasons why you see all these points, and we will go through all these points in more details now.
Sorry, you asked us about the relationship between the human resource security and the supplier relationship security, but you did not clarify it.
Sorry, I may ask the wrong question.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry for that. Okay, now we will go through the first annex, the A.5, and as we mentioned, just a quick point, my friends, then you will be familiar with what we will explain now. You will find in the in general in the ISO 27001 something called control and something called control objective. Do you know what is the difference between both of them?
Control is actual procedure taken to ensure the security. Control objective is the goal of that security.
Excellent. And what is objective?
Objective generally means the goal or the aim of it.
You are right. Look, when I'll tell you, as you can see here, A.5 or A.5, I mean, this, it will be the objective, or it will be not the objective, I mean, it will be the category. It will be the category. It will be the category. Here, this, it will be the category. And when we will say A.5.1, it will be the control objective that we want to protect as we are a security policy. And under this security policy, you will find other controls. It may, number one, review, develop security policy, review security policy, communicate security policy for employees, and so on. Okay? First, annex or first group of controls, it will be related to security policy. And I think we covered the security policy before, and we mentioned that who is the owner of the security policy? Who is responsible for developing the security policy? Any answer? Who is the person responsible for the security policy development?
The information security team.
The security department?
No, it's not security department. You remember when we said that security policy, it's responsibility of top management. Security, it's security policy, it is the responsibility of top management. Okay, and the top management, we have to develop the security policy. I think Manal, it said top management. Yes, you are right. Sorry, because I did not notice the chart comments. Okay. Thank you, Manal, for the right answer. When management, we have to ensure that the security policy is developed. We have to ensure that the security policy is communicated to the employees. We have to ensure that it is already reviewed and it's matching the security objectives and business objectives of the company. And there must be a balance between the number of appropriate policy and at what level of details. Because as we will see later, that the policies, it can have three types of policy. You can have high level policy, which we call it security policy, then a specific level a specific high-level policy, which is called information security policy, or we can say we have the last type, which is specific policy, as email policy, internet uses policy, and so on. When the policy, it will be responsibility of the management. It should be developed by the management, approved by the management. It should be communicated to all the employees, to the stakeholders. It should kept available for the users, and the information, it should be reviewed regularly to match the organization objectives. The point or Annex A6, the set of controls, A6, it's called the Organization of Information Security. And when we say organization in security management, we mean two different things. Rules and responsibilities. Rules and responsibilities. In organization and in information security, you will find that it covers two types of controls. Number one, control of the managing information security within the control. These rules and responsibilities of security within an organization. And the security of teleworking and mobile devices. Teleworking and mobile devices. Let me ask you a question. What will happen with this group of controls for teleworking and mobile devices if the organization does not allow accessing the network resources from outside or using mobile? What will be the status of these security controls?
It will be avoided.
It will be avoided, okay. And what will be the professional way or the approved method in the ISO 27001 to avoid any controls from the Annex A? We explained this yesterday.
Completely isolating the control or the method that we are avoiding?
Do you remember this expression? Can you remember this? Statement of applicability. Statement of applicability. And we said that in the risk assessment, when you will make the risk management, you will go to and choosing the controls. You have to define all the controls in Annex A and what is the justification of using these controls. And on the other hand, you have to type the justifications if you drop some of these controls because they are not valid in your situation, as we mentioned that your network or your organization does not support teleworking and mobile devices. Okay? Now in Annex A, you have to define the security roles and responsibilities, and we will go through this in more details later. It will be tomorrow, of course, inshallah. And you have to maintain a contact with relevant authorities. For example, in Saudi Arabia, you have NCA, who will be the contact person with the NCA from the organization. Then you will have a direct contact with them to make sure that you are compliant, or if they have new regulations, or if you want to inform them about attacks or whatever. Also, you must have a contact with special interested groups. If you are a member of these interested groups, and for example, in some organizations, we have a subscription with Gartner, for example. Then with Gartner, they provide you some information, security advices, a consultancy, so and so. Then you must have a contact person with Gartner in this case. And you have to address the information security in any project management. In any project management, whatever the project type. Then don't think here that it should be IT projects. No, it's not IT project only. Maybe a project related to sales department or whatever, and this should be taken into consideration. In Annex A6, we have controls for using mobile devices and using the teleworking network, and this which it will be remote access for the device, remote access for services or from outside the network. Okay. Annex number 7, human resources security. Human resources security, my friends, it's very important, and it will be split into 3 phases. I need your concentration, please, here. It will be split into 3 phases in the human resources security. Phase number 1, before hiring. Phase number 1, before hiring. Before hiring, you have to make your exercise. You have to interview the person. You have to make sure about his competence. You have to make sure about his experience. You have to make a background security check background. You have to provide him a contract. You have to provide him all the NDAs which you want them to sign it if they will work in your organization. Then we will come to phase number 2. Phase number 2, it will be during the employment. It will be during the employment. During the employment, you have to provide them the education, the awareness, the training. We have to work in a healthy environment because these are the real assets. These are the real assets for the organization. Then you have to keep them secure and safe. Just imagine if you have you are a software company, for example, and you have a good developer, and this developer, he got a better offer in other company, he will drop you and he will join the other company. Then this means that you will lose business, you will lose the developer, you will lose your reputation, and by the end of the day, it will affect the overall performance of your company. The last phase for the human resources security, it would be after employment or in the termination phase. In the termination phase, you must have an exit interview with the person. You have to understand his vision and opinion about the company. Why did he leave? Or if you terminate him, then you have to explain to him how did he leave, and you have to provide him with his rights. And if you want, if he was working with critical data, then he have to sign again an NDA for keeping this information hidden from any other competitors or any other entities rather than this company. Okay. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. The asset management, of course, as we mentioned, our own target or objective from the ISMS to protect the, or in the ISO 27001 to protect the company assets. The asset management, this is very important. Why? Because in the asset management, it has controls for many things. Number one, for classification of the asset, media handling, and finally for asset responsibilities. These are three sets of controls for classification, for media handling, and asset responsibility. In the assets classification, you have to create an inventory for the assets. You must have an assets inventory. And usually it will maybe in the CMDB, Configuration Management Database. Also, each asset must have an owner. Each asset must have an owner who will be responsible for it, and he will assign permissions for using this asset. There must be an acceptable use of the asset. If you will provide a user a notebook to use it, then you have to provide him the acceptable use of assets, that he have to protect it, he have to provide the safety conditions for the notebook, and so on. And these rules, it must be defined by, of course, the organization to make sure that everything is running fine. Also, you have the user, we have to return the asset. User, we have to return the assets. After we finish, we have to return the assets. If the assets are owned by the organization, we have to return it if they are terminated or if their contract is expired. Assets, it should be classified as well as information. And this classification for information is very important. Why information classification is very important? Because the classification of the information defines how the data it will be protected. Because when I create a document which consists of, for example, imagine Dr. Naveed Ahmed, he had a paper or a document, and he mentioned or he registered all the scores of the students in a specific semester. Then this document, it will be a critical, confidential document, very important document. And this document, it should be classified as confidential, and it should be protected, and it should be encrypted, and it should not allow any unauthorized access for this document, and so on. But if it's a normal document, he want to type to you the WhatsApp group URL for our company, then we will be able to communicate together. It's not a critical information. Then even if he will share it over the internet, this it will not make any difference, or it will not make any problem at all. Okay. هو if you don't mind يعني من باب الفضول, just I want to understand what is this 25 and all these values into chart يعني. I don't think these answers or questions, right?
Mr. Osama, actually, these are the ways to know that they are attending or not, and these are the ways to know that they are active or not. So we just put some random things and some random values, and they just answer for those questions.
Okay, okay, Mr. Naveed. I think you are active in the background. I am afraid that you are the internal auditor here, Mr. Dr. Naveed.
Yeah, exactly, I am.
And after the training, you will assign the ISO 27001 for the people who, or the students who answer these questions, right?
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah, okay. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. In Annex A.8 also, it have some controls for how to manage removable media, as for example, hard disks, USB drives, and how you will transfer this data, because it's very important here for media transfer or data transfer, the classification. As you can see now, when we speak about disposal and media transfer, before we spoke about the classification, because if the information or the media, it contains confidential data, then it require or specific steps for transferring, if it has confidential data and so on. Then this, it will cover the asset management set of controls. Access control. Access control, it's very easy and very simple. And just, I am quite sure all of you, you know it. And I will not go through this slide with you like that, but I will do it in some very simple questions. Tell me, did you hear about this expression before? A. What is it?
Something of high quality. We call it a AAA. This is a AAA program, a AAA game, or similar.
No, it's not related to this one. It's to make life easy. It's related to security.
Okay, availability. I forgot. Is it? Is one of them availability?
No.
Oh, okay.
AAA, it's considered the main building block of security solutions. AAA, first, A stands for authentication. First one stands for authentication. Second, A stands for authorization. Third, A, it stands for accounting. And please don't forget these terminologies, because when you will work with security, you will find that you will be asked about this expression more than what people ask you about your name. Why? What is authentication? Do you know what's authentication?
Checking if the information was right, the information given.
Okay, to make
Proving that you
the-
are who you
Sorry?
claim to be. Proving who you are claiming to be.
You are right. Okay, to make the information complete, just in the new technology now, or in the new terminology, we have another letter here called I. It will be identification. And the definition here, I highly recommend my friends that inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after I'll finish the session with you, I will check the WhatsApp group and I will send you all the social media URLs for IT certificates. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe for YouTube channels. You will find in the YouTube channel one of the video training called AAA. Have a look on it. This is very important. I will try to summarize it for you now, but this training, I think it's all about 20 or 25 minutes. And I'm giving detailed information about all of these things. And you will find also some examples and a lot of other information on the YouTube video. Identification, very simple. Who you are. Who you are. So simple like that. Identification, who you are. I am Osama. Okay. Authentication, prove your identity. You are Osama? Okay, prove that you are Osama. I am afraid you may be someone else, maybe a hacker, and he is impersonate Osama. Okay, then authentication, it will, as your colleague mentioned now, prove your claim the identity which you or prove your identity which you claim. Authorization, what did you do? Sorry, what you are allowed to do. What are you allowed to do? What you are allowed to do. Finally, accounting, it's what did you do? Let's have a quick example to explain all these things. I want now to log into my account bank. I want to log into my account bank. What is your identification? My account number, right? Say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's from 1 to 9. Okay, from 1 to 9, this is my identification. Because bank, they don't know Osama, they know numbers. Okay, my account number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Excellent. Prove that you are Osama. How you can prove yourself? Tell me. I think all of you have a bank account. How you can prove yourself?
Password.
Excellent. One of the methods, it's password. What else?
Fingerprints.
Fingerprints, great. There's another method. What else?
A number.
Sorry?
Code number or something you send to the phone SMS.
You are right. Excellent. PIN number. You are right. What you mentioned now, it's really great, excellent answers. And we want to put it in scientific form. What is the scientific form? This we call it authentication. It will be done through 3 different methods. Authentication, it will be carried on by 3 different methods. Something you are, or first of all, something you know your password, as your colleague, he mentioned the password now. Something you have, which is a PIN number, or as your colleague mentioned that PIN number, you are right. Now you will receive a PIN number on the mobile or on the email. Then you can enter this mobile number, then you will be able to log in. And finally, something you are, as you mentioned, this which is your biometrics. It may be the eye print, it can be a fingerprint, it can be face print, whatever the biometrics. And these are the 3 methods which you can use for authentication. And to add, although this information, it's not covered in ISO 27001 at all, but as we mentioned, our objective to share this information with you. And frankly speaking, I think the group who attend this meeting, we are very active, and we are asking and answering, and we are forcing me to share this information with them. When it's okay, no problem. One more piece for the authentication. There is something called 2FA, or in some situations we call it MFA. Did you hear this expression before?
You mean two authentication factors like what's in WhatsApp?
You are right. 2FA, which two-factor authentication, or MFA, multiple factor authentications. What does it mean? As we mentioned,
username and password is not enough. After you enter the password, you have to enter additional, I could say additional password or additional
PIN number. Yes. Yes. This you remember when we said that the authentication, we have 3 factors: something you know, something you have, something you are. Choosing 2 of them, it will be considered as 2FA. Or MFA, multiple factor authentication or 2-factor authentication. And using any 2 factors authentication, it will be considered as 2-factor authentication or multiple factor authentication. Usually in bank, we are using something you know, which is a password, and something you have, which is PIN number, because you have your mobile. Okay? Authorization, it is what you are allowed to do on the network. What you are allowed to do on the network. You are allowed to access your account. You are allowed to transfer money. You are allowed to whatever the service which you are allowed to do it. Finally, accountable. What is accountable? Accountable, it will be what did you do? What did you do? It's a log for your activities on the bank. And this, it will be considered for non-repudiation. It will be considered for non-repudiation. Just imagine I make a transfer specific value for my account in Egypt, for example, and I go to the bank, I wait, my account, I missed 1,000 Saudi riyals from my account. No, you transfer it to Egypt. No, I did not transfer anything. There is something wrong here. No, it's not wrong. You transfer this amount, and look, this is the proof. This is the record that you make this transfer. It may be email, it may be database log record, whatever the type of the logs which is the bank which it will consider. This the access control in very, very, very quick overview. And again, please join our IT certificates YouTube group. You will find IAAA or AAA video. This, it will be very helpful, and you will find a lot of information in it. Also, you will find some other information related to the identification and the new technologies like single sign-on and a lot of other issues which are related to the IIA. Unfortunately, this is not the right time to discuss these things because this is considered as a different topic. But if you need any clarification, please don't hesitate to contact me. If you join the group and the information is not enough, don't hesitate to contact me. Okay, I think our last topic today, it will be the cryptography. Cryptography, what is the cryptography?
Encryption and decryption.
Okay, excellent. Encryption and decryption. Encryption and decryption, it's a very, very, very important issue in security. We are dealing with encryption and decryption more than we are dealing with our families. I remember when I was a field engineer, I used to configure 3 or 4 cryptography configuration every day for our customers. Cryptography, we have 2 different things which are very important. We have two different things which are very important, and I really appreciate your concentration here. Number one, the key management and the cryptography usage policy. Let me ask you a question, gentlemen. What do you think? Is it a good decision? Is it a good decision to encrypt all the traffic on our network or not?
I don't think so, because it will be difficult to decrypt it and will take so many times. So just you can encrypt some of them, or just the important things. So to ease the decryption and to minimize the time that you need to reach to the information.
Okay. Do you have any other answer?
I think, yes, we should encrypt everything.
Why?
Just to be sure that nothing gets intercepted.
Okay. Then we have to answer. One is saying yes, other one saying no. Do we have any other one? He will kill this balance?
I am with Faith, I guess. Yes, we should encrypt it. We should encrypt everything.
Okay, that's fine. Let's speak
Doctor,
about...
sorry, could I say something?
Okay, ahead.
I think maybe it depends. Sometimes we need to encrypt everything. Sometimes we don't need to encrypt everything. Depends on the importance of the information.
Okay. Okay. Let me tell you some facts when we can answer this question in a professional way. First of all, encryption, it will decrease the performance. Fact. This is the fact. Why? Because encryption, decryption, it will consume processors and memory, a part of the processors and memory. This fact number one. Then it will...
Time.
Sorry?
And time?
It's not an issue, because you know you will not feel it, because alhamdulillah, as a human we are not feeling the milliseconds and even the second. Just imagine if I have now I stopped for 2 or 3 seconds. This it may be notable, but if I stopped for 1 second, I now stopped for 1 second, but I don't think that you noted. Then the time, it's not an issue here. Time, it's not an issue, because now devices, it have a very powerful processor, so and so, when it can do it very quickly. But the time that the processors and memory, it will be consumed, then instead of the processor and memory, it will be consumed with the application or the software or the process itself. Part of it, at least 10% to 15%, it will be engaged in the decryption and encryption. This point number one.
Doctor, but I think the time depends on the encryption techniques. Some encryption techniques, even with good processor, also take times.
Of course. And it depends upon the key size, the key length, and so on, of course. All of this, it will take and make an effect. Yani, for example, if you have a key 1K, it will be totally different from a key 2K. And this, it will be higher in...
if I may, so if we consider two situations when we encrypt everything and we encrypt just specific information, does the speed, if we consider the time, the speed for two operations would be the same?
It will not be the same, but I say that as a human, you will not feel the difference.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And as a human, you will not feel the difference, because you know when you I think to answer this question, I have to mention something which is popular in our field. When we are speaking about encryption and how it will affect the performance of real-time traffic. real-time traffic applications. You know what is real-time traffic applications? Video, audio, online meetings, IP phone. Yani, for example, if you are speaking international call through DIO or Zoom or whatever, then sometimes you will feel that there is a delay and your voice, it's not reached to the other side on time and so on. This is because there is a delay. Then this means that even if the time is very small, but you will feel it. Why? Because it's a real-time application. Real-time application, video, audio, whatever. But when we are speaking about data and changing data and emails and all this stuff, it will not be noticeable. Of course, there will be a time, and this time it may be 3 or 4 times the normal time. But again, if there is a delay 100 millisecond, and the normal situation, it will be 400 millisecond. Again, it's not a big issue, and this will not represent a big 0.5, 0.4 second. It's not an issue for you. But fact number one.
It's clear. It's clear now. Yes.
Okay. It will affect the performance, memory, and the processor. Fact number 2, it will affect the network bandwidth. It will affect the network bandwidth because IPsec for encryption, it will add some additional packets over the packet. Then it will affect the network. Then, okay, one person, he say, I want to encrypt everything. Okay, but I will have a problem. This, it will affect the performance. It will affect the network bandwidth, and it will affect the devices because it will do encryption, decryption, encryption, decryption, which it will affect the performance, and this it will kill the process. But on the other hand, another person, he came, I don't care about all these things. Then what do you care? I care about security. I want to encrypt everything to make sure that everything is encrypted. Aha, okay. Then again, this is a good point which we have to consider it. Type. How we can make a balance between these two? You will find here the cryptography usage policy, it makes a balance. You have to choose what are the important traffic which you have to encrypt. Then don't encrypt anything, don't encrypt everything, and don't leave everything in clear text. You have to encrypt the important data. Let's say, whenever any data classified confidential, it will be encrypted, period, خلاص. Whatever any data, it will be classified as confidential, it will be encrypted. And whatever any other information less than confidential, it will go in clear text. Then now we have some sort of balance. We have some sort of balance. Okay. By the way, for your information, as you are the future generation engineers for Saudi Arabia, NCA, National Cyber Security Agency, or authority, they mandate encryption of all the data inside the network. They mandate encryption of all the data inside the network. This is new regulations which we received a year ago. Okay, last point. I know that we are past 8 minutes, but I want to finish this topic. It's only 2 or 3 minutes more. The key management. Encryption consists of 3 different elements. 3 different elements. Do you know what are these 3 elements?
Public key, private key.
Forget about private key and public key because this it's in general a key, then algorithm.
Encryption key, decryption key, and the message itself.
Forget about encryption, decryption, because you are speaking about the concept of public and private keys. well, let's speak about key in general. We have algorithm, we have key, and we have the data. We have three elements or three components. The original data which you want to encrypt it, which is clear text, and after encryption, it will be ciphertext. You have algorithm, it may be DES, 3DES, AES, Bluefish, whatever the algorithm, and it can be symmetric or asymmetric keys, whatever, then the keys which it's used for encryption. Algorithm, it's open and known, well known to anyone. The algorithm, it's well known to anyone. There is no secrets. Then the only secret here for protecting your data is the key. The only secret here to protect your data is the key. Then this is the reason why we are saying here key management. Key management, because the keys is very important. If you have the key, then I will be able, if I know the algorithm, it's standard. I can get this algorithm from any location. I can download it from the internet itself, because by the end of the day, it's a software. If I have the key, then this means that I will be able to decrypt the data. Then the key is very important. And when we say the key, we have multiple things you have to take it in your consideration. How you generate the key, how you can import the key, how you can store the key, how you can back up the key, how you can use the key. These are important issues which we want to take it in our consideration. If you are taking the cryptography as one of the security controls into your network, you have to show that you have a policy for the data encryption. You have to show how you generate the keys, how you can protect the keys, how to share the keys, how to destroy the key after some time or change it or whatever. Then these are the topics related to the cryptography. Do you have any questions regarding cryptography?
No, it's clear.
I think I have one question.
Yeah,
when you
please.
said the algorithm is not like something secret, what if some numbers in this algorithm is just impossible to guess? I mean, sometimes the key is not always secret. Sometimes we use public key. So that means it's not hidden from anyone.
La,
It's a public key.
1 minute. Now
Sorry.
you are confusing the concepts of the public and private keys. When you say public key, it will not be used alone in the encryption. Type, I'll tell you something. Now we finished this session. If you want to continue to discuss this point, please stay with us. If you want to quit, that's fine. خلاص, we finished our session. Okay, then I don't want to delay anyone if you have any commitments or whatever. If you want to leave the session, we closed. I will not discuss anything more in the ISO 27001, but I will explain what is the cryptography. I will explain the concept behind the cryptography and the public keys and private keys. Okay, then if you want to leave, that's fine. It's up to you. Now, if we want to discuss this, let me share another screen.
May I say something? Maybe I'm not so sure about, I mean, what I've said about the public key, but the main point was that if the algorithm is just known, I mean, is every point of the algorithm is known? I mean, sometimes in some encryptions, as I have learned, the secret or the thing that is impossible to guess is the number or the outcome of some of the math I mean, how can I say
The
this?
prime numbers, you mean the two numbers, prime
Yes,
numbers,
yes.
and we are unique and we are used for exchange something called secret key.
Yes,
Is
exactly.
what you want to say? Okay.
Yeah. I mean here, يعني the main thing here is this number of the algorithm, not the
It's
key
not
itself.
algorithm. It's not algorithm. This is not related to algorithm. This is related to the key. This is related.
Okay. How is that?
I'll tell you how. Look here. You have here two different concepts in the encryption. Not encryption. I mean concept number one, which is called symmetric.
Mr. Yahya, I think so you are not sharing your screen in which you are writing something.
Aha, okay, type. Thank you for your note. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. You have symmetric encryption. And we have another thing called asymmetric encryption. Let's take one by one. What is symmetric encryption? Symmetric encryption, it's very easy. Symmetric encryption, we have here algorithm. This algorithm, it may be, for example, this. Or let's be professional, let's say AES, okay? This the algorithm. And you may have the key which is used for the encryption. You will have the key here. This, it will be the key. This key, then when you will have whatever, any data, when you will have any data to be encrypted, it will, the data, it will go through the algorithm and the key by some mathematical techniques, and we will have the output, which it will be the, what we call it, the cipher. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Excellent. Now, in the opposite side, if I want to take the data and I want to decrypt it, I will take the cipher, I will take the cipher plus the same key, cipher plus the same key, and I will go through the process, a reverse process, when I will be able to read the data again. Okay? This, which we call it the symmetric encryption. And this is not a public method in encrypting data. Why? Symmetric key, it has a single key. If I want to encrypt the data, it has a single key. I have to have this key. And suppose that I want to encrypt the data with Dr. Ahmed or Dr. Naveed Ahmed. Now, then what I have to do? Dr. Naveed, he must have a key, and I must have my key, the same key, and this key
The private
must
key for both of you.
not private. Please don't speak about public and private. This is called shared key. This point which you are confused here. This is called shared key. This, we call it shared key, only shared key. Shared key, it is the same key and it will be with the receiver and the sender. Shared key. The main problem that we are not enabled to share this key easily, because if we are two persons, okay, that's fine. I can provide it to him manually, or I can provide it to him on media or whatever. But if we are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this means that by increasing the number of users sharing keys, it will not be easy. sharing keys, it will not be easy. And this is one of the main points against the symmetric encryption, that sharing keys, it's not easy. Also, it's preferable because it's very fast. Symmetric key is very fast, but it is not easy because shared key we cannot use. What is on the other hand? We said, okay, let's have another concept. We will split this key into two parts. We will split this key into two parts. What are these? One of them called public key and private key. Public key and private key. The public key, it will stay with, the private key, it will stay with the user himself. No one he will have this key except the user himself, only the user. Okay, great. And what about the second key? It's called public key. And the public key, where it will be anywhere. I don't care about this key. This is the public key. Any user, he can have this key. I can give it to you, I can give it to Dr. Naveed, I can give it to anyone. I don't care because this public key, it's public. It should be shared. Then in this method, it will be called the asymmetric encryption. Why it's asymmetric encryption? Because when you will make any encryption of data here, when you will make encryption of the data here, you will encrypt it with one of the key and you will decrypt the data with the other key. You will encrypt it with one of the key and you will decrypt it with the other key. Let's have an example. Now I have user 1 and I have user 2. User 1, you have user 1, we have the key pub 1 and private 1. And the user 2, we have pub 2 and private 2. Okay, suppose that user 1 want to send data, encrypted data to user 2. Then what is the situation here? Let's make brainstorming together. We said in asymmetric encryption, I can make the encryption by one key and reverse it or decrypt it by either other key. Then user 1, he can encrypt by public 1 key and it can be decrypted by, sorry?
It can be decrypted by the private 2.
Not private 2, private 1. Take care. Pub 1 and private and public, they are the same. But if it's pub 1 and pub 2, no, they are not related to each other. Then the best technique here for security, that if I want to encrypt the data, I will, user 1, he will use the public key for user 2. He will use the public key for user 2. He will encrypt this one. He will encrypt the data which he want to send by the PUB2 private key. Then this means that if the user 2 want to see the data, he will decrypt it by which key?
By the public key of the user 1.
No.
Decrypted, because the user 1 encrypted with his private key, because he only knows his private key. So user 2
No, not by private key. The user 1, if he want to encrypt the data, he will encrypt it by the public 2 key of the user 2.
Okay, then he will decrypt it by his private key, so private 2.
Excellent. let me answer your question, because this question which you asked or which you highlight now is very important, and you will find it a lot in the security exams. Why we doing this mix and match between the keys? Why I will not do it by, for example, can user one encrypt the his key, the data by PUB1? Can encrypt the data which you want to send it to user 2 by public key 1?
No, because then user 2 has to decrypt it by the other's private key.
Excellent.
And he doesn't know, he shouldn't know the private
Excellent, excellent, great, perfect. This is the right answer. This it will not work, because user 2, he will not have the private key of user 1. Private key, it should be secure with user 1. Okay, great. Then now I will say, okay, you are telling me that user 1, he has the private for himself. Type, okay, I am user 1, and I will encrypt it with private 1. What do you think? Is it possible?
Yes, sure, he can encrypt it by private 1.
And the user 2, he will decrypt it by what?
By the public key of user 1.
Excellent, you are right. And this is workable, because user 2, the public keys, it's available. He can download it anywhere and it can work. This technically it works. Theory it will work, but practically it's wrong. Practically it's wrong. Why? Just imagine user 1, he used his private key, he encrypted the data, and he sent the data. In between, we had a man in the middle attack here. We have man in the middle attack. Okay, then we have here hacker. We have a hacker. And what will happen? This hacker, he will come and will say, okay, you want to encrypt the data. Excellent. Now, I can see that user 1, he is sending an encrypted data to user 2, and it is encrypted with private 1, right? Then what he will use, he will download the public 1 key, which is available over the internet, and he will be able to decrypt the data, and he will be able to read it, right?
I think, yes, but I think here we should use the layers.
No.
Means
No.
I will use another encryption.
What do you mean by another encryption?
So now user 1 encrypted by using his private key, right?
Okay, excellent.
On top of this encryption, he would encrypt it using the user 2 public key.
No, because now you are making which we call it the multiple level. We are not using the multiple level here, because this it's not usually we are not using the multiple level. Usually we are using something called Diffie-Hellman, and Diffie-Hellman it will create a shared secret key. I don't want to confuse you. No, forget about what you are saying, because this it will be a little bit complicated. I can tell you this exactly how it will work later. But go through these steps with me to understand the concept of public and private now. Now, the private one, he encrypted the data with private 1. The hacker, he knows the protocol, the algorithm. Algorithm is AES, it's a standard. And the private data, if he is able to download the private key, a public key of user 1, he will be able to encrypt the data and read it. Then this as practical, it's not the right implementation. What is the right implementation which is should be followed? User 1 must use the public key of user 2. Okay? User 1 must use the public key of user 2, which is available on the internet, available to everyone. He will encrypt the data with public 2 of user 2. How the data it will be decrypted, which key it should be used?
I see, okay.
The private tool.
Yeah.
And the private tool, it's not available with anyone rather than user 2. Then even if there is any hacker, he is in between and he captures the traffic, he will not be able to decrypt it because he have to get the private key. He have to get the private key of user 2, and the private key of user 2, it's secure and it's not shared with anyone. It's only with the user 2. And this means that the hacker will not be able to decrypt. The last point which you mentioned, I don't know, I know that I said a lot of information, but you know, you touched this area in my mind.
Well, actually,
I like encryption very much, but just for your information as well. Usually we are not following this technique in the encryption. We will use something called Devi-Hellman, and I'm quite sure you heard about this DH. What DH?
Yeah. Yes.
Private and public, it will be used only for authentication and initiate a connection. But the main problem with the private and public key that it is not easy, it's slow. It's very slow. When the encryption, it will be damn slow. Very, very slow. It will be very bad. Then what is usually the technique? The public key and the private key, it will be usually used for initiating a connection between the devices, and it will use something called Devi-Hellman, and the Devi-Hellman, it will use the two numbers, which are called the two prime numbers, which are not easy to be guessed. And these prime numbers, these two prime numbers, it will be shared between the two hosts in user 1 and user 2. And with some specific information, it will be exchanged over the connection, will generate a secret key. It will generate a secret key. Then the secret key, it will have the same concept as the shared key here. It will have the same concept of the shared key. It is the same key, secret key, but this secret key, it will be only temporary between these two nodes, and it will be used for encryption only the data. While the private key and public key, it will be used for encryption, it will be used for integrity, it will be used for other things. This is the real scenario for the encryption. I hope that I answered your question and the information was clear.
Thank you for everything. Yes, it's clear now.
Okay, excellent. And anyway, you will have the recording. I will upload this recording today, inshallah. Not today, because it will take almost 3 hours to be able to download it from the internet. I will upload it tomorrow morning, and I will send the links over the WhatsApp. There is no need to bother Dr. Naveed anymore. I think we have the WhatsApp group. I will send the link to you. And even today, I will send as well the link for the videos today. And please confirm with Dr. Naveed about the email which you have to use it. Then you will be able to access the videos. Please join our social media URLs. You will find a lot of information. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate. And frankly speaking, you are a very active group, and I am quite sure that you will have good positions in the future. And I am quite sure that we will be friends in the security field within few years, inshallah, very soon. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Osama. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Osama, for your great session. We really appreciate.
You are most welcome. Any questions, my friends?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your patience and your understanding. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.